Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. I'm your host, Javon Harrington, and I'm here to bring you a familiar but new saga. Now, for those of you who have stuck around with my channel with the upcoming 4-year anniversary of PowerCore Productions, you know that when I was first starting on YouTube, I did a series called What If Ben 10 Was in the MCU. Now, this wasn't connected to anime Marvel at the time. This was something just totally different. But you guys really enjoyed that series. So, as my way of showing thank you to all my fans with us recently hitting 5,000 subscribers, I'm going to be remaking the Ben 10 What If Ben 10 Was in the MCU series that will officially be part of Anime Marvel. So for everyone, this is a thank you to you all. We're going to be doing season 1. It'll be 5 parts this week, starting today and concluding on Friday. But without further ado, let's get into today's video. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. It all started on